What we're talking about is the expired listing gold mine. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick, and I'm one of the founders of Annie Mac Works and the Annie Mac Works productivity platform. I will share with you that for 25 years in a row, I did expired listings every day almost, probably not less than 5 days a week. But I had a lot of gumption. I needed to make enough money to raise a family and to provide for that family. And I was very dedicated to residential real estate. So I'd like to dedicate this particular National Lunch and Learn League session to my son, who's a 22-year-old young man trying to figure his way out. One of my good friends that's a RE/MAX agent that's about 51 years old, and he's been in the real estate business as long as I have. And I'm also going to dedicate it to a newly licensed agent that I know who just retired from the post office and decided to get into residential real estate. So hopefully this will share with you my vision. If my 22-year-old son's asking me that he's thinking about getting in real estate, this is my advice to him. Don't get into real estate unless you can call on strangers. In real estate, you need to be able to contact people that you don't know. And if you don't have the gumption for it, you ain't going to do very well in real estate. In residential real estate, strangers have all of your money. And if you're not good at talking to strangers, you're not going to do well in residential real estate. To my 51-year-old friend who's been in the residential real estate business as long as not as long as I have, but a good long while. He's always in the executive club at RE/MAX, which means he makes, well above 60 grand a year. And many years in his career, he's been in the 100% club. So it means that he makes over $100,000 a year some years. Last year, I happen to know he made $108,000 in gross commission because I counsel him from time to time about his career. Well, when I ask him, about 80% of his business comes from his sphere of influence, friends and family. The balance of his business comes from buyer side lead conversion from different lead sources. And it's a smattering once in a blue moon of direct mail. He doesn't have a farm area. He doesn't work expireds. He doesn't consider himself a strong listing agent, and he does not have a listing presentation because in his mind, and maybe in your mind, he doesn't need a listing presentation. What do you mean a listing presentation? I go over to my friend's house. I tell them what it's worth. They tell me okay, and I list it. So why would I need a listing presentation, Russ? Well, here's the funny thing about this friend. So where is John, I'm going to use John Smith, going to get an extra $24,000 to $40,000 per year to invest in his retirement? He's at 51 today, and he has not a pot to proverbially build his retirement around. And he doesn't know how he's going to make an extra $25,000 to $50,000 a year to invest for his retirement. So I have a suggestion for my friend John Smith, and I'm going to make the same suggestion to you. If you want to give yourself a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year raise, spend 2 hours each week on expired listings. That's the premise of today's conversation at National Lunch and Learn League. During each week, commit to yourself that you're going to have not less than 10 conversations with the decision maker of the family. So the husband or wife, you're getting on the phone with at least 10 humans each week. Well, if you did that 40 weeks out of the year, you would have had 400 conversations with decision makers who are thinking about selling their house. And that would probably generate, if you stapled your tongue to your bottom lip, everybody do that visual right there. Stapled your tongue to your bottom lip, you'd probably get 25 listing appointments. You're not even great at it if you're only getting 25 listing appointments out of 400 conversations. But let's just tone it down a little bit and say that after 25 listing presentations, you got 13 listings taken and only 9 of them closed. Now, before we go on, I know we don't know each other very well, but I've been in the real estate business since the mid 80s and I've managed a lot of people in our business. And I just ask you, where else can you spend 2 hours a week on a labor that you don't necessarily want to do, but you know you got to do it, and you spend 2 hours a week and you end up with 9 extra closings? Well, if your average price point is $250,000, you're talking about an extra 67.5 in GCI, gross commission income. If you struck out and you just couldn't do the job, you were just terrible at it, you're still talking about 4 closings, and that's $30,000 a year in gross commission income. That's not a bad way to augment your retirement plan by getting down and dirty and doing some eyeball to eyeball, belly button to belly button conversational sales techniques that we're going to learn today. Now, to my newly licensed retiree at the post office, I say the same thing I said to my son and the same thing that I'd say to my best friend if he was thinking about getting in the real estate business. Don't think that you're going to become the postman realtor extraordinaire. Don't get into real estate unless you can talk to strangers. Don't get into real estate unless you know how to contact people that you don't know, meaning that you're able to reach out to people that you don't already know. And remember that in residential real estate, strangers have all of your money. So you have to be able to speak to them. So the last question that I have for the postman who just retired, he's got a pension and he's thinking about getting into real estate. So I said, well, here's the question. Do you want to make 30 grand a year to augment your pension? Because that's pretty easy in real estate, right? It's 6 sales a year. That's what the average realtor in North America does. That's why the National Association of Realtors is the most pathetic group of unprofessional people that exists in the United States. 2 million people, but 1.6 million of them barely make a living, and really most of them don't know what they're doing. So if that's what you want to be, is an average 4, 6, 8 deal a year realtor, then, okay. But if you want to make 150 grand a year and change your lifestyle, you already got your pension, you've got some financial security built into this pension. Do you want to make an additional $150,000 a year and change your life? Or do you want to just dabble and augment your pension? Well, if your answer is A, then just do what every other realtor does. Stumble around like a blind squirrel and find an acorn on the ground once in a while. And you're even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a blue moon. And you'll do your 5 or 6 deals a year from your friends and family, and you'll make your extra 30K a year, and it'll augment your pension. But if you want to make an extra $150,000 a year and change the vacations that you go on, and change the cars that you drive, and change where your kids can go to college, and change the kind of restaurants that you can frequent, and change the types of hotels that you stay in, then you need to do this. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or so telling you what this is. Well, you ever notice that when you go on the internet, that the ads match your needs? So a 15-year-old student athlete who's a male with prom coming up gets these ads on Facebook. And a 40-year-old real estate female who loves shoes gets these ads that come up. Did you ever notice that if you were a 42-year-old teacher, female who loves to travel, the ads that come up are different than the ads that come up for the 15-year-old boy? And if you happen to be a middle-aged real estate male that likes success books, then you get these ads that come up on your screen. Stay tuned here. This is kind of curious. Do you mean that somebody's watching you and somebody is deciding, do you like to take cruises? Do you use hair color? What shade of hair color and how often? Has this person ever filed bankruptcy, or does he need credit repair? What type of business does this lady run? What decisions does she make? Who's your favorite football team? Which clubs or restaurants or stores do you like best? Do you have a dog, cat, bird, aquarium? Well, When Big Brother's watching, they know what to advertise to you because they can tell whether you're a hot consumer or a cold consumer for a particular product. Now let's talk about the advertising that most realtors do. Most realtors will go and do a billboard. So let's say in a billboard situation, 8,500 people a day drive by that billboard, but only 1 or 2% of them are even thinking about selling or buying this year. Of the 2,000 people that you send recipe cards to, only a couple of percentage of points of those people are even going to consider uh, listing their home this year. Of the 28,000 people a day that read the newspaper, a handful of them might be thinking about buying or selling a house. And if you're going to go to networking meetings at the JCs, or you're going to go to networking meetings at the different BNI groups and things like that, there's a pretty good chance that a couple of people a year are going to want to buy or sell a home during those meetings, or that you're going to meet people. But take a look at this. If the thermometer burns hottest at expired listings, for sale by owners, and list pendants, and it gets a little cooler or more neutral in farming, I'm not suggesting that you don't do just sold marketing to the colder audience. I'm not suggesting that you might not one day want to get bored and just cold call canvas a neighborhood and say, hey, we sold the house on 3rd Avenue. I did that. It works very well. But just look at the thermometer. 68% of people that expire are going to list their home. 54% of every buy owner lists their home within the first 30 days of putting the buy owner sign up. You're talking about the white hot burning desire. The consumer has a 68% chance that they're going to relist their home. Where would you invest your first marketing dollar? Would you going to go down to the cold stuff, or would you go into the heat? Where would you invest your first effort? Where would you put your time? Guys, I'm not saying that this is the only thing to do, but if you were the postman that just got into the business, if you were my son, if you were my buddy who's been in real estate forever but's never really hit it out of the park, you know what I would say? Go where the people want to sell their house. Go to the place where the people are most likely to want to list their homes for sale. That is the expired listings that come out of your MLS computer every single day. During the days of the gold rush, prospectors would wake up early and go down to the creek and, sift through the rubble and soot, hoping to uncover a golden nugget. The only difference between you as a realtor and the prospector who would go down there is the prospector didn't curse the dirt and the rubble, but many realtors will curse the seller who doesn't want to sell their home anymore. Why? Your job is not to convince people to want to sell their home. Your job is to find the people who want to sell their home. You're just looking for the gold nugget in all that rubble that comes out of the expired listing computer every night at midnight. It's always been our contention that if you need to build some listing inventory, that the fastest way to build that listing inventory is to chase the expired listings, okay? In other words, these are the people that are most likely to be interested in selling their home. These are the people who are most likely to accept a price reduction. These are the people who are most likely to pay full service real estate commissions. And some of them have an increased motivation because they're really frustrated. And you get to help them. It's a very exciting profession to solve problems. Our suggestion is that you pick a segment of the market and that you commit to that segment daily or 3 times a week or 4 times a week or whatever it's going to be. But maybe you pick just townhouses, or maybe you pick just golf course homes, or maybe you pick equestrian expired, or maybe you pick raw land, or maybe you pick multifamily that expired. But pick a specific price range and a specific style of home, And really remember that you need to stay in close proximity to expireds. It's very difficult to prospect an expired that's 90 minutes away from you. So make sure you do it really close in proximity to you. And the reason that we suggest a certain price range, a certain type of home in a certain municipality or a certain geographic area is because then you get more confidence faster. Because you're saying, listen, I sold this one on the golf course, I sold this one on the golf course, I sold this one on the golf course, your house is on the golf course, I sell houses on the golf course. Or you're saying to them, I only do houses with equestrian, I do houses nothing under 5 acres, I only do houses that have horse barns and that you could bring live horses on. Whatever your area of specialization is, it magnifies itself in the expired listing marketplace. So if you're going to do multifamily townhomes, duplexes, quadplexes, apartment buildings, if you were going to do all the expireds that were over 4,000 square feet but under $500,000, then you would say to people, hey, I work with the largest homes that families can afford. I really specialize in 3 and 4 and 5 bedroom homes that are under $500,000. That's a great idea for an area of specialization. I'm going to go through 4 characteristics of effective expired agents real quick. The first one to the far left of your screen, be consistent. It's like going to the gym. You're going to go to the gym 4 days in a row and then quit. Well, then you're never going to get good at it. So you're going to want to do a minimum of 3 days a week, and you're going to want to time block 40 weeks out of every year. That's going to give you a sense of consistency. And anything that is worth doing poorly until you can learn how to do it well. So by being consistent, you can get better and better and better at it over time. The second characteristics of effective expired agents is they have a sense of urgency. See, in any other source of business in real estate, it might be weeks, it might be months, it might be a quarter of a year before they list. But in the expired listing market, they're going to relist their house tonight. They're going to relist their house tomorrow. This is a time where you have to say, they say jump and you say how high. You've got to run right over there and don't say, oh, okay, I'll meet you on Thursday. Well, it's Monday. That means they're going to relist with it before you even get there. You need to be ready to jump on the opportunity when it presents itself. Never put a listing appointment off if you can help it. So if you're in the expired market and you're cold calling on a Wednesday morning, try to go into the appointment Wednesday afternoon. Don't make it for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday if you can help it. The third characteristic is problem-solving skills. People who expire either did not take their old realtor's advice or never got the proper advice from their realtor. Maybe they're dealing with a garage conversion permit issue. Maybe they're dealing with a lot that backs up to a main street. Maybe they're dealing with wires, power lines behind their house. Maybe they're dealing with a 3-bedroom that was marketed as a 4-bedroom but doesn't have a den. There's so many things that create problems that ended up expired. Maybe they just had a pit bull and they didn't want people to come in and see it except for certain hours. There's always some sort of a problem. Or maybe there's a big debate about price, or their roof is a shaker shingle roof that looks like it's fallen apart or whatever. Maybe the house needs renovation. In the problem-solving skills department, I would say the characteristic of an effective expired agent is that the customer, more than any other customer, needs your guidance, and he needs your counsel, and he or she needs your insight into what they need to do to make the right decision. So this is an area that if you're a particularly nurturing consultant and an advisor type, if you're a humble servant leader, you're going to excel in the expired listing marketplace because these people have problems that need to be solved. The fourth characteristic is all about sales, uniqueness, differentiation. You need to surprise your seller with something new and different, a different way of looking at something. Think about his needs and package a unique offer that seems almost irresistible so that he'll at least agree to meet with you. What you'll learn about the expired listing marketplace is getting the appointment is more than half the battle. Getting in the living room, like Jerry Maguire said, Get me in the living room. You're going to have success. So get in the living room, no matter what you have to say, do, how many hoops you have to jump through, whatever you've got to do, use a sense of urgency and some problem solving skills and use a unique selling proposition to get into the living room. I'm going to show you two case studies from the expired listing race that hopefully will resonate with you to give you an idea of what this feels like. This is one of my real world achievements in residential real estate, and I hope it's a transferable skill for you. This was a $300,000 house that expired. Wasn't a high-end house, but it makes you $9,000 if you list it, right? $9,000 isn't chicken feed where I come from. So at midnight it expired, and at 8 a.m., as I usually did, I called the expired listings. So I called this lady on Kimberly Boulevard, and it's one of my favorite expired race victories that I've ever had. She said, no, thank you. We're relisting with Josie. And I know Josie. I'm not going to use her last name. She ended up becoming my sales manager at an office many years later. We're meeting her at the office tonight at 7 p.m. to relist with Josie. Well, most of you are polite. I'm a bull in a china shop. So I don't take no for an answer. So I say, you mind if I ask you a quick question? And she says, no, sure. And I said, how long has Josie had your listing? You shouldn't do that, Russ. That's unethical. Whoa. It expired. She's not listed anymore. Do you know that she had the opportunity to extend your listing before the expiration date? And that because she didn't extend your listing before the expiration date, today you're going to get about 100 calls from realtors all over the county because your listing expired. And that do you know that when the buyers see your house tomorrow relisted, it's going to show that you had been listed for 6 months and then expired and then relisted it again, and it's going to make the listing look old and stale because Josie let it expire? And then let me just ask you this. You have to drive from your house to her office to do the paperwork to extend the listing another 6 months. Well, let me ask you something. If you're going there at 7 anyway, could I share with you why your house didn't sell? Because I can see right here on this piece of paper why your house didn't sell. What if I come over at 4, you and I meet, I'll leave you all the information on why your house didn't sell. And then if you decide to go over and relist with Josie at 7, you still do it. You never even tell her we met. If you decide that I make a good point and you should make some changes to the way your house is being marketed, then I'll call Josie and tell her that I forced my way in and got your listing and that she is not going to get the listing. You don't ever have to talk to her again. And the lady said, okay, come over. And I went over at 4. I executed a listing agreement. I made the $9,000 and I sold them another house. And Josie Pirzola, Josie XYZ ended up becoming my sales manager many years later. If you don't like this type of sales, expireds are aggressive. You have to be an aggressive person or you're not going to get any listings in the expired listing marketplace. So I'm going to give you another case study. This was a single mom, divorced single mom. Her home expired at midnight. And I said, hi, Mrs. Scotto, I pulled your house up this morning because I was going to call you to show it. And I found out that it had come off the market. It's no longer on the market. And she said to me these words, I'm too busy. I'm taking the house off the market for a few months. I got to go. And that's what many expired listings say when you first call them. They always say that. And then you say, well, can I ask you a quick question? And she reluctantly agreed to allow me to ask a quick question. Where were you going to move when you put your house on the market? Where were you thinking about moving to? And she said that she wanted to move to be closer to her mom in Pompano. Believe me, guys, that was the in. She said, that I would like to have moved to Pompano to be closer to my mom. And during her explaining the answer to that question, I could hear her kids in the background. I could tell that you're busy. I said, let me ask you a question. If I can sell your house and close on your house while your kids are out of school this summer, and you could get moved into your new house over closer to your mom, would you at least let me come over tomorrow? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get there at 7:30 a.m. while the kids are getting ready for school. I'm going to bring you Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I'm going to bring the kids breakfast, and I'm going to show you why your house didn't sell. And then I'm going to get your house sold, get you into your new house before the summer while the kids are out of school. Would that be something that you'd be interested in? And she goes, you would come here at 7:30 tomorrow morning. And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, you would bring my kids breakfast so that you and I could sit down and talk. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, done, come over. And at 7:30 in the morning, I brought over stupid, sugary, bad breakfast Dunkin' Donuts, and I brought over a couple cups of coffee, and I sat down with Miss Scotto, and she became a client of mine for life. Probably sold 7 homes for her over the years, and her children's homes as they grew. I swear to you, that's a fact. Now, the if I could, would you proposition is the switchblade knife to an expired listing fight. It's a debate. The seller wants to get you off the phone. The seller wants to get you off her front porch. The seller wants to get you out. And all you use is the if I could, would you proposition. It says, if I could close your home for $389.9 and close on March 30th, 2019, would you at least consider sitting down with me for a few minutes this evening? If that's not your cup of tea, look, I've been doing this a long time. If I can guarantee that I can sell your house at or above asking price, would you at least be interested in taking a look at what I have to say? Some of your brokers aren't going to like this, but in order to get into an expired living room, sometimes you got to get creative because they're frustrated. So if I didn't require a long-term listing agreement like your last listing agent, but I was only interested in putting the deal together. I've said this to expireds. I don't get paid to list your home. I only get paid if I sell it. So I'm not interested in a listing, okay? I'm interested in finding out if you want to sell your home. And if you want to sell your home, how can I put that right deal together? So let's forget about the listing agreement for a few minutes and just talk about what it's going to take to get your house sold this summer while the kids are out of school. Would you agree to meet with me this morning for a few minutes if we could forget about the listing agreement and just focus on the deal? And the reason that we do that, and the reason it's controversial for some of you conservative realtors in the room, is because you're not recognizing in the expired listing market, you have to get in the living room. So you have to use sales techniques that infer what the seller wants most. And what this seller wanted most is convenience. He's tired of getting run through the gauntlet. So I just use that to say, if I could execute an agreement without a long-term listing agreement, would you at least consider it? Another if I could, would you that works well in the expired listing market specifically is the if I could show you exactly why your home didn't sell and show you how it needs to be done right, would you give me an opportunity to meet with you this afternoon? And I always close with, I could leave it with you and you could decide later, but I'd like to bring over the information to you so that I could show you why your house didn't sell, what needs to be done right from this point forward, and give me an opportunity to leave it with you. I'll leave it with you whether you list your house 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now, or 2 months from now. I don't care, but at least I have an opportunity to show it to you. I've been doing this for a long time, and I have an opportunity to show you this. Would you like to see? And a lot of times sellers would say this. Now, my son, who was honored at the beginning of this course, is on the phones today. And I heard him say to a seller, if you had a competent real estate agent this time around, would you at least consider sitting down with me? That's pretty brash. I liked it. And guess what? He got the appointment and we got the listing. I promise you, God is my witness. The listing said, I'm going to take my house off the market for a while because I'm really, really frustrated. So he could hear in her voice that she was frustrated with competency. So he just used competency. He said, but if you had a competent realtor who could get this house sold, would you at least consider meeting with us? And they did take the listing, and I swear that is a fact. Get outside the box. You've got nothing with that seller now, so try anything it takes to create a relationship out of thin air. Anytime, anywhere, anyway, anything it takes, make this seller want to meet with you. That is the juice that's necessary inside the expired listing goldmine. Do not take the first 3 no's for an answer. Keep coming. Well, let me ask you a question. Well, now that you said that, can I ask you another question? Well, now that you made that clear, do you mind if I ask you one last question? So you're getting a couple of opportunities built in to your prospecting. This seller will have a pre-programmed response for your initial inquiry, I promise you. It's almost like you're a boxer and you're walking in the ring with your gloves down around your waist. You have to know that the other boxer is going to take a swing at you. You know, every seller who's an expired says no first. They say, no, I'm not interested. No, I've already sold it. No, we've already got it done. They say, no, I've already decided. I took it off the market. No, we already relisted. They lie. It's an immediate knee-jerk response that they say to you because they want to get off the phone. This is a defense mechanism. It's not a fact. Find the right question and the right way to ask the question that makes the seller drop his guard and get interested in you. There's another analogy that you need to familiarize yourself with if you're going to pursue expireds. You can't pounce and use bravado and use, emphatic, strong statements because that's not charismatic. Instead, think of it like romantic courtship. You do want to seem confident, but you want to seem sweet at the same time. You don't want to seem overconfident. You don't want to seem too aggressive. So think about romantic courtship and say, maneuver your way past the obstacles until the defenses are lower, and then you start to find out what her deepest hidden secret wants and desires are. What is impossible today that if it were possible would make this seller want to do business with you, want to go out on a date with you, want to get to know you better? Meaning, when you're sensing what that seller needs to know in order to be attracted to you without being overly brash or overly obnoxious or overly pushy. It's a very interesting analogy, the romantic courtship and nurturing an expired listing back towards trust. And then our last lesson relative to the expired listing marketplace is that you've got to have a killer listing presentation, or just don't bother. Because unlike any other arena, the expired listing was frustrated with another realtor, okay? He's frustrated with the whole process, and he probably thinks all realtors stink. So what you've got to do is you got to re-win him over to the fact that you're the one who knows what he's doing. So having an organized presentation of compelling arguments is the most efficient way to influence decision making. So you're going to want to bring in an unprecedented toolbox of features, advantages, and benefits. Like, this is how we do staging. This is how we do our marketing. This is how we do IDX exchange. This is how we syndicate your listing to a worldwide audience. This is how we mobilize the local real estate community. This is how we take advantage of open houses. And I'm not talking about your open house. I'm talking about the 60 open houses I did last year and how those clients are now buying houses. I want to talk to you about our signage program. I want to talk to you about geolocating. I want to talk to you about text autoresponder technology. I want to talk to you about our open house security system. Guys, you have a killer listing presentation, and you use those features, advantages, and benefits to differentiate yourself in the hearts and minds of that seller. So they say, I don't want to just date this realtor. I want to marry this realtor. This realtor's got it all going on. And when you do that, you get a very, very compelling presentation. So how do you get to meet an expired? I'm going to show you 5 or 6 of them, then I'm going to turn it over to Carrie for part 2 so she can show you. You could do part 2 whenever you want. I just wanted to get through the nuts and bolts of the expireds during part 1, and then she's going to show you how to use part 2, use these tools during part 2. I used to use sticky notes, little post-it notes on the expired listing door that says, please call me about your house, and my phone number. Walter Sanford taught us to use the dynamite sticks and direct mail tubes. Those are kind of interesting. A lot of realtors across the country use the bandit signs in the expired listing market. Your home could have been sold if we would have hired da 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 da. And then on the back, they say, please call us right away. No brokerage, market your home more aggressively. Our international internet strategy is bringing buyers to Orlando from all over the world. We have all the buyers. There's letters. We will sell your home in 60 days or less. We will sell your home with sale guarantees. There's all these tools that you can use. We've got a lot of other letters too that are not 60-day sale guarantee letters. We've got letters about the pace of the market, the economy. We've got letters that you can use if you want to talk about why their house is the only one not sold in today's seller's market. And we also have a very well-oiled and proven newsletter. It's an 8-page newsletter that we use with sellers that expired. So today we discussed what to do and the why to do it of expireds, but at your convenience, as a courtesy of Annie Mac Home Mortgage, Carrie will dig deeper into exactly how to do it and share all the marketing templates with you. Carrie is the co-founder of Annie Mac Works. She happens to be my beautiful wife and business partner. She has a bachelor's degree in education. She has a master's degree in administration. She's the smart one of the family. And she also has 25 years of real estate marketing experience. She ran an office with 540 agents for 10 years. So she knows the real estate business and she's here to help you. The reason we broke it up into 2 parts is because our theme for the National Lunch and Learn League events is short, quick, to the point. Enjoy a relationship with your other realtors. Have lunch with Annie Mac Home Mortgage. Enjoy your relationship to your mortgage partner and loan officer who's in the room. Showing goodwill that we're trying to help you make more money in 2019 and beyond. But if you like what we talked about and you want to dig deeper into it, we're going to have a link that you can watch it on your smartphone. You can pick it up on your home office when you're alone, and you could dig into how to personalize these marketing materials and how you can reach out to sellers in the expired listing market. So I hope you don't mind that we broke it up into 2 parts, but we didn't want to have another 60, 90-minute lunch and learn. We wanted it to be brief and to the point. So enough said on that. Thank you again for joining Annie Mac Home Mortgage in our National Lunch and Learn League event. If you think it's valuable, let your loan officer know. If you think it was a waste of your time, let your loan officer know. But we reach out to you with this olive branch to show you how you can add an extra $30,000, $60,000, $90,000 a year to your income. Thank you very, very much for joining us.